Let's do a hypothetical. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You are sitting in the lunchroom with a group of coworkers. For our purposes, no one knows you are a peer. They are only coworkers, they are not your personal friends, and your boss is present. You are in a group of at least 6 other people. Someone in that group says, I am sick and tired of all these drug addicts and mentally ill people refusing to take responsibility for their own actions. All they do is sit around and expect society to take care of them. What do you do and or say? Yeah, we saved the big ones for last.
Do you know me?
I know what you'd actually do, but I'm curious as to what you're going to tell them you would do.
Thank you, 3 minutes. Anybody who knows me well, and I'll put my husband out there on Front Street. If my husband was sitting next to me in this scenario, he'd reach over and put his hand on my hand and say, take a breath, take a breath, take a breath. I've actually been in this scenario, and I am a social worker to the bone. To the bone. We are born, not made. I will not sit still for that. I've been there. I out myself. I won't tolerate it. I've got, talk about social media. I've got family members that are afraid to engage with me. So no. Because, and this comes down to your own personal values. Who are you as a human being in this world? Who are you if you're going to sit silent while people are denigrated, while people are talked bad about? What if there was your son, your brother, your loved one there? If we don't stand up for our people, who's going to do it? So no, even before I was doing this work, I've just shared this big thing. I'm an ally on my timeline on Facebook. Basically, it says I'm not gay, I'm not, or any of those, but I'm an ally. And so, because I got this crazy idea that human beings deserve equal rights, and so I'm not different in my professional life and in my personal life, because the personal is political from my standpoint, and I wouldn't be still. I wouldn't be quiet. And so even if it means to the point that I put myself at risk, because you don't make change unless someone is willing to go to the line. Because you know what? Someone stood up for me. Someone somewhere stood up for me, and I wouldn't be here if people hadn't. So it's the best I can do in terms of paying it forward.
All right, thank you, Juliet. And now the follow-up questions where we're going to narrow it down more specifically. In the same vein as the hypothetical, but more specifically, you have decided to talk directly to the coworker who has said some troublesome or even offensive things about peers. What suggestions can you offer to make the conversation a productive one?
Assuming in this scenario that these are folk that I've known for a while, even if I haven't shared a lot of personal information. And so I said something to this earlier about relationship. If people know you, even if they don't know every detail about your life, if they know you and you've got some rapport with that individual, with that person, with those people that you're sitting at the lunchroom counter with, you can build on that. So, do you know me? We've gone to lunch together, we've gone places together, we've done happy hour together, we've done all these things together, and so what do you think about me? That's a question. Just ask a question. What do you think about me? Do you like me? Do you think I'm a good friend? Do you think I'm a good colleague? Do you think I'm a good coworker? And so based on that answer, and so they're not going to say, yeah, I think you're a terrible person. They're not going to say that. So obviously you're sitting at the table with them. And so use that. You know me, right? So here's something about me that you didn't know. And see what happens. It's an opportunity to, what's that phrase, educate, not
Educate,
agitate?
not instigate.
Instigate. Educate, not instigate. And so assuming, because you're sitting at the table with these people, you like them too. So me, I'm a closet teacher, not like the real teacher over here, is that I think people need more information.
I think you're right.
I think that they would respond and react differently if they had other information. Be an information resource. And that's how I would approach it.
Thank you, Juliet. I just noticed that all right, are you ready?
Yeah.
The exact same question, I promise. All right, let's do a hypothetical. You are sitting in the lunchroom with a group of coworkers. For our purposes, no one knows you are a peer. They are only coworkers, not personal friends, and your boss is present. You are in a group of at least 6 other people. Someone in the group says, I am sick and tired of all these drug addicts and mentally ill people refusing to take responsibility for their own actions. All they do is sit around and expect society to take care of them. What do you do and or say?
And I've been in this situation before, and the way that I looked at it was, you know, when we were sitting, it was a very similar situation and that sort of thing, and it wasn't people that I was really close to. And I said, I've been to a point where I was at my lowest, and I remember a time, because people are big on stories. If I sat there and did a lecture, you'll lose them, but you should tell a story. People are captivated by stories. And so I remember, and I'm using my experience, I'm not saying you did this wrong or anything. I don't want to shame anyone in the room, because I'm not going to be heard if they shut me down. So I say, I remember with my mental illness, or when I was depressed, or when I was feeling sad, using words that they might be able to relate to, I remember how I felt, and talk about what we call symptoms, or they might call feelings. I remember when, just being in my room and feeling like, gosh, I wish I didn't have to go on, because we all experience that. Mm-hmm. We're human beings, we all experience. And I remember that I felt like I just couldn't live like this anymore, and something had to give. And I decided to go back to school. And because I went back to school, I got these skills. And now I have these skills, and I was hired here with you. I'm sitting at the table with you because I have these skills, I have the training, I have the education, and I have overcome. And I used to stigmatize myself and think I'm lazy because I should be at work, I should be doing something because I'm on Social Security. But I realize now that had I not had that opportunity to go through that and feel that, I would not be able to connect with another person across the table from me that's been there where I have been. And so I feel very fortunate. As hard as it was, something good always comes from the bad. And for that moment that I struggled, I can also now walk with somebody as they struggled. And by sharing a story, it's not to shame anyone, because what's going to happen is somebody opened the door and opened up. So when somebody speaks first, it's okay, the next person's done. Yeah, I had that happen too. I remember when I was, sick and I was going through that. And then a conversation occurs, and there's no shaming and that sort of thing, and embarrassing people, because again, we don't know where people have been. But if we use words instead of saying, bipolar and that sort of thing, I remember feeling really sad and feeling like I just wanted to give up. I just wanted to run away. Everyone can relate to that. That's that common ground that we can communicate with.
Thank you. All right, in the same vein as the hypothetical, but more specifically, you have decided to talk directly to a coworker who has said some troublesome or even offensive things about peers. What suggestions can you offer to make the conversation a productive one?
I think a lot of times when people say things, it's because of the lack of education or the not knowing, or things that they've seen on the media. For instance, I mentioned my mom earlier. She lives in Arizona. Those immigrants are coming and they're taking that Obama, and I get that every phone call. I know it's coming, and I'm like, and she goes, Tracy, you need to hear this. You're a social worker. They're going to take advantage of you, And but the one time I just had enough, and you don't want to talk back to mom, but I just said, if I was in another country that was impoverished, and I have a right to have children just as much as anybody in the United States, but if I'm in another country and my child is suffering, there ain't no border. There is no man with a gun that's gonna stop me from getting my baby to where I need to be to give that child a better life. And so if the government over there is willing to give that to my child a better life, then, you know, then I'm gonna do it. You know, I'll do what I have to do. And she hung up on me, you know, and, but then now she'll still have those conversations. But you know what, in the back of her mind, I know she heard me, because they're not as pushy as they used to be. Because I think just that putting herself, you know, for that moment, and that she put herself in, you know, what if that was Tracy and the other kids? What if, you know, because I know she's a pit bull. She would do the same thing. And I got that from her, and it was a compliment to her. But I think that in that relationship with that coworker, I think being able to say, you know, some of the things that, you know, you talk about, I can understand, you know, where you're coming from, but maybe together we can find that a way that we can make this better. What would you suggest? Because it sounds like you're very passionate about this. What are some things that you think need to happen to stop the, you know, to start the change? You know, and is this something that, you know, because you might find that they're on the same page as you, they're just frustrated.